Call Eugenia Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not pleased to take a call on the Crown Minerals Amendment Bill because I think it shows the contempt which this government treats the democratic process and this parliament, that it is introducing this bill and passing it through all of its stages under urgency with absolutely no opportunity for public submissions or scrutiny by the Select Committee. The Minister talked about providing certainty for operators, and that's certainly a theme that you hear a lot from this government, providing certainty for applicants and operators, and it does that by weakening the regulatory regime, weakening our environmental laws, and making it much less certain for the environment. And that's what we're seeing in this bill, Mr. Speaker, with these proposals for conditional permits where the holders won't have to meet the same criteria and the same standards. So the government sets up a regime in this Act, the Crown Minerals Amendment Act, and then introduces legislation to apply a much weaker framework to that. The Minister also said that the bill would fix a number of technical errors in this Act. It was only given royal assent on the 19th of April. It hasn't come into force yet, and yet we're back before that. It's back before the House needing to be fixed. And if the Minister and the juggernaut of Moby can't even get the legislation right and has to come back to Parliament within the month, then how can anyone have any confidence that this government can effectively manage risky activities such as offshore oil drilling? And Mr. Speaker, the answer is we can't have any confidence that they'll get it right either in the law or across our oceans. And other speakers have pointed to this not just little clause, Clause 14, which extends the no protest law much further out to sea, out 350 nautical miles from our coastline, much further out than the very controversial Anadarko Amendment did. And that, of course, Mr. Speaker, was another change to the law which was dropped in to the House at the committee stages with a supplementary order paper, no chance for public submissions, no chance to go to Select Committee, and in the same way the government is curtailing people's democratic right to protest but without allowing the public to have a say on that. And when Greenpeace put up their petition, they got tens of thousands of people objecting. But no, the government didn't want to allow people to make submissions along those lines to the Select Committee, so it smuggled it through at the committee stages, just as it's smuggling through this change under urgency. And Mr. Speaker, the bill raises questions about whether there are potential breaches of international conventions like the law of the sea, which enshrines freedom of navigation. Because when you have a look at the Ministry for the Environment website, it says that in areas where the continental shelf extends beyond 200 nautical miles from the baseline, the water itself above the continental shelf is not within New Zealand's jurisdiction and is part of the high seas. So why does the Minister think he has the jurisdiction to extend New Zealand law to create criminal offences on the high seas? What does he think gives him the right to do that? That's one of the reasons the Green Party is opposing the bill. Another one is because it facilitates inexperienced prospectors and pushes them potentially to start drilling, because it's requiring them, if they get a tender and then they don't have the capacity to exercise it, they've got to go and either on-sell it or they've got to surrender it. And if you've put that investment into doing the exploration, why would you surrender it? So it's tempting those permit holders to actually engage in very risky activities. So that means, and we haven't got a regulatory impact statement, as other speakers have noted. We've got to depend on the one that went with the original Act. But I'd just like to quote from the explanatory note. And it says, and I quote, "An applicant for a Tier 1 permit for exploration who does not have the expertise or financial ability to undertake exploration drilling activities will be able to be granted a permit on a conditional basis." So the government in the Principal Act set up some conditions, weak though they are, and then in this bill is allowing people to go around those conditions. So, Mr Speaker, it is a very weak regime that the government is introducing in this bill.
Call Mark Mitchell.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very pleased to take